Hello and welcome to Forever Sports and some very interesting transfer news in the rugby world over the last few days with three big players re-signing as well as making moves, and they're going to go through some of the big transfer stories and talk a little about what they mean and why two of them are, well, one of them is very good for SA Rugby, one of them I have my doubts about, and one is a massive boost for New Zealand rugby. And it sort of shows you, I think, a bit of a start on how the All Blacks are going to be able to start bringing and keeping players a long time, because we're now getting into the situation where within the next 4 years, from an All Blacks point of view, you've got a World Cup in Australia and a British and Irish Lions tour in 2029. So I think it's going to be the start of lots of different signings. But let's start a little bit more local from a South African point of view, and that's Snyman, who's decided not to come back and not to keep it local, but to renew with Leinster. And I think it's the right decision. I would love to see him back in South Africa. Anybody would. We'd love to see him playing on our shores, playing week in, week out, where we can go and buy tickets to watch him, because he's someone who really is blockbuster. I don't think there are too many locks in the history of the game who have been as entertaining to watch as Snyman. And we would love to be able to go and watch that. But at the end of the day, especially Rassie Erasmus, who's been quite upfront about the fact that having these overseas sort of players, really helps us from a salary point of view, and trying to, to afford the players that to stay in the country and the likes of that. And I think Snyman, from a Leinster point of view, it's been really good for him. I think he's playing with in a world class side. He's looking world class in a world class side. And I think the way that Leinster have deployed him, running in the centres and being a genuine playmaker in the side, provides an interesting template, I think, for the box. And I think we might see him in that kind of role more and more, in terms of being more than just your traditional lock. And I think that we will see him being used to carry the ball up more often, and in sort of set moves and the likes of that, because of his incredible offload game. Now, if you're a Munster fan, look away, because this is the season that Snyman has had. And as you can see there, yes, a lot of Springbok games in there, but lots and lots of minutes for Leinster. He's played 905 minutes since the beginning of the URC last year. And I mean, that's phenomenal for to see him do that, because he's not played a lot of rugby previously. He's back, he's fully fit. The injury woes, touch all the wood in the world, seem to be behind him. And we're really hopefully now going to move into, an era of Snyman, where he can really truly dominate the world. To put it in perspective, he played 734 minutes for Leinster in his first season. He was at Munster for 4 years and played 824 minutes. Just 20 games, and he's already played 14 matches for Leinster. He's starting, for example. It's a very different role for him, and he's scored 4 tries. And that's for you to wait to try assist the likes of that. So, from a Springbok point of view, that's a really, really positive thing. The fact that he is going to remain at Leinster, where he's going to be coached by world-class players. He's going to get insight into the Irish systems as well. So I think that's a very big boost for the box. He's working with Jacques Nienaber. So, yeah, I think it's a really positive move. And from a Leinster point of view, I mean, arguably have one of the form, if not the form lock in the world right now. He's playing that kind of rugby. So, yeah, I think all things considered, that's a really good move. This, however, I've got my doubts about. So, Lions have officially confirmed that Edwill van der Merwe has not renewed. The Sharks teased the signing on, I think it was Thursday or Friday. Always like to do it just before we go into the weekend, and just before a really important game for the Lions. Once again, the Sharks have decided to tease that they've signed a player. It really bugs me, I won't lie. They did that whole, they sent a shirt to Emmanuel Tutuka 2 days before we were set to play the Sharks. So it's not a team that really has too much respect for us, to be perfectly honest, us being the Lions. And we've seen that by the fact that they just continue to poach our players. I think, obviously, financially, this is a good move for Edwill van der Merwe. He's 29 years old, so he is coming to sort of the latter stages of his career, and does need to get paid well. I don't think this helps the Springbok ambitions, because we've not seen anybody go from the Lions to the Sharks, and their Springbok career has taken off. Jordan Hendrickson, for example, is the only one that's actually gone down to the Sharks and actually then continue to be called up for the Spocks, although he made his debut whilst he was a Lions player. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think he's had a season where he suddenly really sort of burst onto it and all of a sudden knocking down the door. And I think that what we're seeing, with players at the Sharks, is that there's a lot of players within the Sharks, and there's a big juggling act happening, and I think there's a lot of inconsistency. Yes, the Lions are not playing particularly well, but Edwill van der Merwe has been one of the leading try scorers in the URC for a number of years. And that's in an underperforming Lions side, where he's front and center, and he gets played week in, week out, and he gets every single opportunity possible to show Rassie Erasmus and his coaching staff what he's all about. I worry that he goes down there and all of a sudden he's competing with. I mean, he'll start, but he's competing with Michael Pimpi, who I think Springbok games will be more and more hard to come by. So he'll become more of a shark sort of regular. Ethan Hooker's playing on the wing, So you've got those two players already. You've got to try and fit in the likes of Francois Venter, Lekanya Amirenza Julius, who can also play on the wing. Andre Esterhazen. So there's lots of players. Yao Penkler, who I expect probably to leave. But there's some really good wings coming through as well at the Sharks. And whilst I think he's the best. I think him going down there, he'll be the number one choice at wing because I think he is that good, and I think he could be actually genuinely giving Curtly Orange a run for that Springbok jersey. So from that perspective, cool. But again, staying at the Lions means that he would have been one of the best players at the Lions. And what we've shown with Snyman is that you can still become, for example, the URC player of the season whilst playing at the Lions. And the Lions suits him. So I really hope for his sake because I like him, and I think I understand from a money point of view that going down there is going to be a good idea from his career, from a monetary point of view, from a getting to the Springbok point of view. Not convinced, and I hope it does work out because unfortunately, you look at the list of Lions players who've gone down there. Carlos Sardi went there, was a bit part player, ended up going to top 14. Was set to come back actually, but then decided to stay in the top 14. But both Tukas have gone down there and they've had lots of injury issues. They haven't really been able to replicate any sort of form. I mean, Vincent Tuka was winning every second man of the match award when he was at Lions. And he's theoretically, apparently, he's qualified now in terms of the passports, the IDs. I don't think they've received them yet, but they have been approved, whatever. He's not really on the Bark radar at the moment. He's starting to stay fit. That wasn't the case at the Lions, Ru Andrea has swapped, and I mean, it's not like he's was ever going to get that much opportunity at the Sharks. But also, I think Jordan Henderson's gone down there. And the Lions, you always tell that a player's leaving the Lions because they generally often play off the bench. Edwill van der Merwe maybe being an exception. Maybe we've kind of learned that we just can't not start playing these players. But Jordan Henderson would have been playing fly half week in, week out for the last year had he decided, or this entire season had he decided to stay with the Lions. And I think that he probably would have been a lot more consistent than maybe what we've seen him at the Sharks. So not convinced about this one, but this is a big one I want to talk about. Damian McKenzie re-signing with New Zealand Rugby and the Chiefs for a further 4 years to 2029. The reason this is so significant is I think this is the start of New Zealand and All Blacks tying their players down for a World Cup and British and Irish Lions charge. In between World Cups, it's difficult to keep these players down, and lots of them going sabbaticals, and I think we'll see a couple of them take the Artie Severe route, for example, who's gone to Moana Pacifica, a bit of a different type of move, but a lot of them, like, Bowden Barrett and Geordie Barrett now going to Leinster, are going on these sort of short-term contracts to earn a bit of money. But now we're going into sort of the next few years. You've got a World Cup in 2027, and you've got a British and Irish Lions tour in 2029. So now is the time really to commit to playing for New Zealand, playing for the All Blacks. And that's why I think it'll be interesting if we see a Richie Mwanga coming back, next year, and what we sort of see some of their stars. And because there's obviously, there's also big money being flaunted in front of these players, to go to a top 14, to go to Japan and the likes of that. But you become ineligible immediately when you leave. So it's a big call, but I think this is a really big boost for the All Blacks because I think that he'll be the start of lots of players who will start to renew for this kind of period to try and lock them down for World Cup and British and Irish Lions. And this is the time as a player to really start putting in those big performances and getting those contract offers. Now he basically admitted that there was lots of options for him in Japan, but basically said, he... there's no place like home. I love it here. And in the end, it was reasonably easy decision to stay put in New Zealand. Why not from his perspective? Because he's currently the number one choice at fly half for the All Blacks. Whether it's the right decision or not, I don't know. But he's not playing fly half, he's playing full back. And he's a huge part of Scott Robertson's plans. And I think that's also a big boost in Scott Robertson, the fact that he would have been one of the probably top 5 players he would want to really nail down for the next few years to be able to build a side that can go on to win the 2027 World Cup, can go on to beat the British and Irish Lions 2029, which they were unable to do in 2017. So it's the start, I think, of several New Zealand contract extensions. It'll be interesting to see who joins them over there. What do you think of these 3 signings? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.